phones should be off at this time. Seat backs and seat trays should be in the upright position. I just, I just, I'm just kidding. It's funny how, Monica and I don't share my message with Monica or with David. Once in a while I bounce it off of David, but the reason why I don't do that is because I want to see how God is working. And last week, as I was finishing up on salt, sodium chloride, there was some discussion going on, and as I was thinking, because today my message was going to be a light underneath the table, or the light, but there was a theme going on last week, and I picked up on it, and it was funny because I was going through this week thinking about that theme, and then Monica just sealed it, so I know it was a confirmation on I don't want to do that yet. Thank you. Now you just blew it. That's like giving the clue away. All right. Thank you, my son. But it was like I was thinking about worship and how we worship. And as I was thinking about the times that we're going through today, I mean, again, I always think about the message that God gives me. I try to walk it out for the week to see what happens. That way, if I get confirmations, I know that I'm on the right track. And this week was a crazy week for me at school. I mean, we had kids going crazy. They always blame it on the full moon, all right? We have the Ukraine incident going on. We have Durham bring stuff up against the last stuff. And I'm not getting political here, but what I'm trying to say is it's a mess out there. And it's affecting every one of us on a daily basis. We all get hooked up to our iPads or our iPhones and reading the news. And, Monica was asking me last night at the dinner table, what do you think about what's going to happen in Ukraine? And there's fear in the air. There's fear in the air because we know strategically what that means for Russia. And it's out there. It makes us distressful. And so I was thinking about the Bible, of course, and going back to the Old Testament, there was our friend David, our brother David. And he went through several trials. All right, and today I want to talk about one of those trials that he went through. And that was, if you open your Bibles, please, to 1 Samuel 21. Let's go to verse 10. All right? I'll give you a minute to go there. 1 Samuel. And I don't have that up here. I have other stuff up here I want to share, but not this one right here. 1 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 10. Okay? Now, we know David's background story is that Saul was definitely jealous of David. So David was on a run. He met with Jonathan in Nob, or prior to Nob, he met Jonathan. And Jonathan said, hey, man, you know what? Saul's out to get you. Jonathan was Saul's son. And they were true brothers. David loved Jonathan. Jonathan loved David. And he told David what was going on, and David was running for his life. All right? He went to Nob. After he went to Nob, he needed some bread. There wasn't any bread available, but he took the holy consecrated bread. All right? And then there was a spy there prior to this, so he fled. And he fled to Gath. And that's where we're going to pick up right here in just about 1 minute. But, why did he go to Gath? Gath was the Philistines. And guess what? That was the home of Goliath. And so, the Bible doesn't tell us why he goes there, but we can make an assumption or think about, if Saul's after him and the Philistines, his part is in battle with Israel, guess what? He's not gonna come look for David in the hands of the Philistines. Okay? So at least that's my assumption. And I think most scholars are thinking that way also. So he runs the Gath. And this is where we're going to pick the story up. All right, in chapter 21, 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 10. Okay? That day, David fled from Saul and went to Achash, king of Gath. But the servants of Achash, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Achash, I think it is, or Achaz, I'm not quite sure of the pronunciation, said to him, "Isn't this David, the king of the land? Isn't he one they sing about in dances? Saul has slain 1,000, and David his 10,000s." All right? David was hoping that he'd go there and nobody would recognize him. But guess what? The cat's out of the bag. Someone recognizes him. All right? And so when he found out that the people knew who he was, David took these words to heart and was very much afraid of Achash, king of Gath. So he pretended to be insane in their presence. And while he was there in their hands, he acted like a madman, making marks on the doors of the gate and letting saliva run down his beard. There's some text that says that he was pounding his head against the gate and just going totally crazy. Okay? First of all, think about this. David should not fear, right? Because of God. All right? So Achash said to his servants, "Look at that man. He's insane. Why bring him to me? Am I so short of madmen that you have to bring this fellow here to carry on like this in front of me? Must this man come into my house?" All right? So David accomplished what he wanted to do. He escaped. Because he had no idea what they were going to do if they found out if he was David, and he was sane. They could throw him in prison, torture him. So, this act of insane was an act. And he took off. Right? As you move down to verse 22, in Samuel 1:21, and it says here that David, when he escaped Gath, he went to the cave of Adullam. All right? The cave of Adullam. Think about it. Guy's running. He runs into a cave. It says here in verse 22, David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about him, they went down to him. All those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him, and he became their commander. And there was about 400 of them in the cave. All right? In a cave. So let's think about that for a second. My notes are all messed up. There are several psalms that are written after a particular historical event in the life of David. We're going to read one psalm today that's based on this story. And I have to share this with you. Jordan was actually instigating this, or I got the idea from her on this particular psalm, and it was Psalm 34. Okay? Psalm 34 was written in the light of the rescue that Lord provided David from the king Achash and Gath in the land of the Philistines. Psalm 34 is an invitation of personal experience of God, where you're not listening to another story of God's goodness or provision, but to experience David's grace for oneself. Right? You know, we don't know if David wrote this psalm while he was in the cave during that time, or if he wrote it in the future, remembering what took place at that time. We don't know that. All right? But we do know that a lot of people, scholars, relate this psalm to David during this time when he was escaping and running fearful. And I thought this was appropriate for us today, because, you know, each and every one of us have stress upon us today. You know, I have a lot of stress at work. Several of you have stress at work. Some of you have stress within the family. And it was like, I wanted to find out how David, King David, the man after own God's heart, handled this stress. And Psalm 34 really does a great job in explaining this. You know, in this psalm, there's 4 sections. First of all, I got to tell you, the structure of the psalm is written in an acrostic poem. All right? An acrostic poem is where they take a letter of the alphabet, and from that letter, you start the verse. Only this poem is written with the Hebrew alphabet. And I'm sorry, I don't have that up here to let you know. You know, and maybe that was, you know, that when I was a teacher and of language arts, you know, and I did acrostic poems, it acted as a memory base. So like, you know, if it started out with A, well, the word started out with an A, you can help you remember that verse. You know, I don't know if that's the reason why they wrote it that way or not. I don't know. All right? But there's 4 sections to the structure of this psalm. And these are things that I'm thinking about. Okay, somebody else could have written 7 or 8 sections. Okay? I'm not saying that I'm perfect. But it's also a good template for how we can worship the Lord together and celebrate all that he has done for us. All right? And what I want to do is, you guys can follow along if you turn to turn to page so-and-so, no. Turn to your Bibles to Psalm 34. And I'm using the ESV transition, okay? The title of my lesson today is, Isaac, I don't know if, hang on a second, buddy. Yeah, there we go. It's Taste and See. That was a dead giveaway. Thank you. But I want to take a look at, how I want to do this is, I want to do this chorus style. In other words, when I bring the verse up, I want to read it together aloud so that word soaks into us. Not only do we see it, we hear it, we say it, hopefully it'll sink down into us. All right? So, first of all, one of the first sections I have is Psalm 34, yeah. But it's David's invitation. The first 3 verses of the psalm is David's invitation, all right? He invites the congregation, the people in the cave, to sing with him. Remember, the psalms are songs. It's a form of worship. Worship does exist, all right? And David celebrates this psalms in song, all right? It's an invitation to join him. You know, these are God's words. David says, no matter what the circumstances, no matter where I am, I will extol the Lord and sing of his praises. It's the desire of his heart, which should be the desire of our hearts. So let's read this together. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul makes its boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. There's the invitation. You know, there's the invitation. Let's come and worship. And he's doing it in song. Let's look at the next section, which I think is his declaration. Let's look at the next section. It's his declaration. All right? What is he going to say? Well, he's telling you, he's giving a testimony here. David declares the congregation, everyone, worship with me. He's telling everybody in the cave, worship with me. I want you to know how great he is and how he took care of me. All right? God is near enough at hand, interested enough to listen, loving enough to respond, and strong enough to meet the need of those who fear him. You know, in the psalm it says, David says, I cried out and he answered me. I was poor and the Lord inclined to me. I was lacking, the Lord provided. I was afflicted, the Lord delivered. I was fearful, and the Lord defended and rescued. I was troubled, and the Lord saved. I was crushed, and the Lord kept me. Let's read this together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall not be ashamed. So let's stop right there for a minute. Those who look at him. Are you looking at God? Are you looking at Jesus? It should show on your face. It should show on your face wherever you go. See what it says? If you're looking at him, it's going to radiate out of you. You know, how do you make your decisions? How do you decide what you're going to do in your daily life? When you have problems, do you take those problems in your own hand? Do you say, I'm going to solve these myself? Or do you look at him and look for him to deliver you from those problems? This poor man, let's read on. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Guess what? Guess what? If we're looking at him and we're focused on him and we're walking the walk, look what it says right there. And those who fear him, he will deliver. You know, we have to remember that. And sometimes we forget that as Christians. You know, we need to put our faith in him. We need to look at him. All right? And folks, we all have troubles. They may, you know, I'm just using it. David's troubles may look different than my troubles. Jordan's troubles may look different than mine. But it doesn't matter. If we're looking at him, and we're obeying him, guess what? He's going to help deliver us. Because you know why? We fear him. And fear is not a bad thing. Fear is a good thing. All right? You know, here is this testimony. We have to have a testimony. Okay? Let's look at the next verse. And this is the next group. We had his invitation. We had his declaration. And now we're going to look at his exhortation. All right? And this is an invitation to share your joyful testimony. All right? And this is kind of a long piece because it goes to, like, a couple of verses. But we have to remember in this particular piece, the goodness of the Lord is something to savor and relish. And I like what he says, in here we're going to read where he, in 8 he says, taste and see the Lord is good. So that means you have to look for him. You have to go to him. All right? He's willing to step up for you and to show you that he is a good, good father. David exhorts the congregation to fear the Lord, living out the fear of the Lord, to seek his glory out of reverence for his holiness, his power, and obey his word. David is saying in these verses that just as God saved him, he will likewise save us. All right? So let's read this together. And this is, I might have this on a couple of slides. Yeah, I do. So ready? Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Oh, fear the Lord, you his saints, for those who fear him have no lack. So our faces have got to be on him. And guess what? We have no lack in whatever he wants to, whatever we need. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. I don't know about you, but that just excites me. We live in a fallen world, but we also know that we can turn and put our face towards God. Right? Come, O children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. So let's see how he teaches us the fear of the Lord, what we need to do. How do we need to apply what he says here? Well, let's take a look. What man is there who desires life and loves many days that he may see good? Hey, I'm one of them. I want to live many days and I want to see all good. Are we all on that same page? That's what we want. So let's see let's see how he instructs us. All right? Look what he says. Ready? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. I don't know about you, but that sounds like the Beatitudes right there. All right? And remember, this is like 800 years before the Beatitudes. Okay? I don't know if I'm right about that, but I know the Psalms were written in BC. All right? All right? But take a look at that. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. There's our instructions, folks. We want to live a long, good life of many days and see good. Guess what? We're going to keep our tongue from evil. We're not going to be talking about people behind their back. We're not going to be going out seeking evil to do. We want to seek his righteousness and what he wants us to do with that. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. That's good stuff. I love it. It is in his affliction that David is most sensitive to the Lord. His heart is tender to be obedient to what God is doing and what God has done for him. Folks, we've got to have that tender heart. When we're brokenhearted, we're distressed, feels like we have no hope, that's when we go here and worship. That's when we go here and worship. Oh, his salvation. The final section. This psalm, this verse, the Psalms magnifies the Lord for his saving work. More than feeling happy that God is in control in things of this world is the assurance that, guess what? He is working now and always for our good into eternity. Let's read this together. Ready? The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears toward their cry. Hey, if we're righteous, he's for us. He's looking at us and say, you know what? Guess what? Are your eyes toward the Lord? You know what? Guess what? You're the righteous. The face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to cut off the memory of them from earth. When the righteous cry for help, guess what? The Lord hears and delivers them out of their troubles. The Lord is near the brokenhearted and saves the crushed spirit. Many are the afflictions of righteous. Did you hear that? I wish this verse wasn't in there. Right? Because, he told us, Jesus told us himself, you will have troubles. And here it is. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. But the Lord delivers him out of them all. Okay? Good stuff. Good stuff. I think it goes on. Hang on 1 second. Yeah. He keeps all his bones. Not one of them is broken. Think about this. Christ on the cross fulfilled that psalm. Affliction will slay the wicked, and those who hate the righteous will be condemned. Remember this. Don't take revenge. If someone does evil against you, or there's evil around, I know that in my mind I want to take them out. All right? Okay, that's who we are. But look, he will take care of it for us. We may not even see it, but he'll take care of it for us. The Lord redeems the life of his servants. None of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. There's no condemnation in us. No condemnation in us. And this ending piece, this whole psalm has the tone of Romans 8. All right? And I didn't put that up here, but I just put some of the aspects or some of the key points in Romans 8. Faithfulness in suffering. All things working together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called. The redemption of our lives. No condemnation for those who are in Christ. Before the psalm and the word, let me see, where was that? There was something. Yeah. There is no promise that faith in God would make things get easy. Or we'd be more prosperous. Or we'd be more prosperous, or all our trials would go away. There is no promise that we would be protected from all our pain, or that we'd be insulated from the sin and its ravaging effects on our lives and others. There's no promise there. But God does not turn his eyes from his children who need them. He does not abandon them in their afflictions. We will face trials and troubles, of course, but those who fear the Lord will lack nothing. I'm sorry I didn't put that in there. Isaac, can you hit that last piece for me, please? The last slide, or the video. I have a short video, real short. Just a simple way of worship. This is by Shane entitled Faith and Peace. Is it up there?
I sought the Lord, and he answered me.